think I've just found some rabbit tracks. Based on looking at the tracks, I think he had spaghetti for dinner. I think they were left on a Tuesday. And looking really close, I think this rabbit is a fan of mid-2000s Jennifer Aniston rom-coms. No, I'm just kidding. But there really is a lot that we can learn from tracks. Luckily, we have a tracking expert with us today. So we're gonna learn all about tracking animals. Let's get started. So here at the Sandia Mountain Natural History Center, we are lucky enough to have some very experienced trackers. We have Michael, one of our volunteers, and we have Maggie, our admin assistant and a biologist. So they are going to be helping us learn about tracks, signs. But before we get too deep into it, what are just some of the most basic things that we're trying to look for and think about?
Yeah, we're trying to figure out what kind of wildlife has been on the landscape, what they're doing, where they're going, why they're doing what they're doing, and maybe even with a little luck when they were there, what they're eating, all that kind of stuff.
And the things you want to think about are why would they be here, what time of year is it, who lives here, sort of understanding where you are, what the weather has been. That adds a lot of helpful knowledge to your ability to follow the wildlife.
Cool, let's go find some neat stuff.
Okay. All right, you guys
Yeah. Can you all see this one? This is a beautiful example of what we're talking about. Who do you think that is?
Deer?
Deer.
Yeah.
How many tracks are there?
Oh,
Two.
where they stepped on the
Yeah,
same
that's-
track.
That's
Is
where
that
they're not
just
always
the-
perfect.
Like that little bit
You can
of
see the two
dirt.
peaks, one there and one there. See that? There's one track and then another one underneath. So that's one track. And over here, there's somebody else.
Going, I think, a different way. So we've got two different kinds of scat here. Some of it is the mule deer scat, the younger fawn scat that we were just looking at. You can tell by that oblong shape, a little nipple and a cap. We also have some older cottontail scat here. That tends to be round. But you can see how you might mistake one for the other if you're unfamiliar, especially when the deer scat is smaller. So the rabbit scat is round. It just is always a nice M&M looking shape. One thing you can look for with mule deer scat is the nipple and cap appearance. One end of the pellet has a slight pointy nipple. The other end has a slight dimpled area. So you can almost fit them together like they were squashed together.
Interesting. So this is a burrow that a cottontail dug to hide its young.
Oh.
And it's hard to tell now because it's been a long time. Oh, wait a minute, right here, some right here.
Yeah.
You see that?
Fur?
Softest fur you've ever felt. Right there. Go ahead. That is, what they do is they line it with their own fur. The mother takes her own fur and lines the entire inside. And that makes it cozy. And then they bake this might be it here, they actually make a plug that looks just like this. It was here before. It was made out of this stuff, and it fit right there.
Obviously this is a prickly pear cactus. These are what the hole pads look like. If you notice, this has been almost worn down. It's an old feeding spot. A rodent or a rabbit would have come in here and gnawed away these nice green pads and just sort of left this stump.
So Michael, what else likes to eat these prickly pear cactus?
Well, wood rats love it. Cottontails and deer all eat this on a regular basis.
Huh. And how do they deal with the spines?
Well, it depends. The wood rats actually will clip them off and put them around their den as armor. They'll carry them away. The bunnies just clip them off and leave them. And I think the deer just kind of ignore it, from what I can tell. They don't seem to care too much. I guess their mouths are armored or whatever. Here's one, here's another. They might be going in different directions. Clearly deer. And if we look up that way, we can see a highway This is a deer run, that's what they call it, based on the size and just it's chewed up. Like an animal with soft feet is not going to chew it up like that. So if it was a rabbit, coyote, because they kind of share runs, they're soft, kind of padded down. This thing is clearly hoofed animals going back and forth and back and forth.
All right, we have some more scat, always exciting. There's a little bit on this rock and some right there. If you look, you can see that there are juniper seeds in it and that it's not very big diameter. That's always a good clue to who may have made it. My personal opinion is that it could have been a robin.
Well, what do you, I'm thinking parallel feet with a toe. You can see one beautiful toe up here.
You see a zygodactyl-shaped track from here.
I do too. Two of them.
4 toes. The longer ones are over here. The shorter ones are here. A little bit like a K.
Right.
So a bird.
It's a bird, and there's only a couple possibilities. Zygodactyl is kind of rare.
Oh.
It's not going to be a songbird or any of the...
A jay?
No, a jay. Jay just has... A crow would not work
Okay.
because they don't have the backward-facing toe on the inside. So this is going to be only a couple options. The first one, which is not going to work, would be roadrunner.
It doesn't work because they don't live up here very much. This is also a fairly small one for a roadrunner.
And it would be much bigger if it was roadrunner like that.
Okay.
So it's like a smaller version, almost. And another. So I think I know what that is. What are you going to go with? I don't see this very often. These are rare tracks, right?
I was thinking flicker.
It's a northern flicker.
Oh, that makes
I was
sense.
gonna guess.
And I have been looking for these tracks for years,
Yeah.
except in the snow. Probably not. This is somebody's home. And the size can give you an idea who. Usually, there are exceptions, but most animals dig a burrow their size because they don't want anything bigger coming in.
So this track is a little bit of a mystery. We're not really sure what it is, and that's one of the fun things about tracking. We're gonna go back and look this up. Our first initial guess is maybe ringtail or skunk, but if we figure it out, I'll put a note here on the screen.
A little research showed it was just a squirrel.
So these are pocket gopher holes. They actually fill in the hole behind them, which is pretty cool. Another cool thing is in the winter time, they'll go under the snow and they sort of treat the snow as dirt. And what happens is when the snow melts, there are like ropes of dirt left behind on the surface, but they're actually the pocket gopher tunnels. So we weren't sure about this right here. But we have our suspicions that this was a long-tailed vole. So to confirm, we set up a camera, and I think we were right. We have what appears to be a trail of fox tracks, but what's especially interesting is they might be in blood, and we have a little bit more blood, what we think might be blood up top here, so we're going to do a little test on that. So we have our blood smear here, which we think might be from like a fox having caught maybe a rodent or a bird or something, and we have a little test here. Maggie, what are we about to do?
We're going to put some hydrogen peroxide on here since we don't have anything like phenolphthalein to test for the presence of blood. Peroxide foams up in the presence of sort of organic matter, for lack of a better word. You know, when you put it on a cut, it foams. Same thing.
Do we need a drum roll or anything?
I don't think we need a drum roll. That looks pretty boring.
Yeah, not much happening, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's not blood. It could be old, it's been here a couple days, or we don't know, but that's science for you. Sometimes it doesn't fizz. So now we are down by the Rio Grande River in what we call the bosque, and totally different area. You can see what other sorts of tracks and sign we find down here that might be different from up in the mountains. So these chew marks on the tree, that is actually porcupine damage.
All right, so we started out by looking up here and we find chewing on the tree, which is what porcupines do all day. And this is their scat, so we've got, actually this is like the other one. Oops, well, I don't care. So anyway, this might be the one. This is what they're eating. If you break it open, it's like sawdust. It's just
So a little difficult to see, but up there are 2 porcupines. So this is a huge hole. What do you guys think this is?
Well, based on the shape, the size of the throw mound, the size of the hole, and the claw marks on the side, it's almost certainly a badger.
What's going on here?
Somebody ate a cormorant.
Those are body feathers.
Yeah,
So it
contours.
kind of got ripped off in a chunk so that they could access the meat.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are always asking the difference between dog tracks and coyote tracks. And what you're going to have a lot of times is coyote tracks are going to be more oval. The nails are going to be real small. You're going to have more hair, if you can see the hair. And then you're just going to get a feel for it. What's the difference? Beavers have been pretty active here. You can see this is a beaver chew. So Michael, these flat spots here, are those natural or are those animal made?
Well, I think this is a beaver tail drag. This is a beaver probably coming out of the water on his way to go find something to eat, and he's dragging his tail along.
Yeah, so what do we got going on here, Mike?
So we're looking at a duck. This is a waterfowl. You can tell it's got curved toes. And if you look, you can even see a little of the webbing right there that shows you that it's a waterfowl that lives by paddling. And the size is duck-like. Probably a mallard, but I can't really tell you.
So right here we got some crane scat, and we move right over. You can see their track right there. Just hang out all night, chat, and poop. That's a crane's life.
Black tarry substance. Some birds are eating.
Yeah. And we know it's bird because of the white. Would that be correct, Mike?
Yeah, it's uric acid. It comes out at the same time as the poop in birds.
From their cloaca.
Cloaca, yeah, but this black stuff is kind of weird and unique. I'm not sure what they're eating that's black like that.
It looks
Tarry.
like the stuff that we think is fox, like young fox or something.
That looks
up
like
the
fox,
center.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
If that was all by itself without the white.
Right.
This toe, birds that swim for a living paddle, they have that curve. It has something to do with efficiency.
Uh-huh.
Birds that walk, wade, they have straight toes.
Okay.
So that tells you this is a really big waterfowl. And there's this little dimple here. See how that's classic because they're so heavy.
Oh,
They make that little dimple right there.
And in case we didn't include it in this part of the video, that's goose.
That's a goose.
Canada goose.
Canada goose, and it's hard because even though there's webbing, you don't see it, do you?
Nah. So this is some beaver scat. Beavers, because of their diet, they actually poop a lot. And a lot of times in little eddies in a river, you'll find a whole bunch of beaver scat because they poop that much. So sometimes our animal evidence is just a dead animal. And here we have some sort of turtle. Somebody's about to
Soft shell turtle.
mess with it, and we'll tell you more in a second.
I'm gonna huck it back in the water just in case.
Might have a rally.
These are pigeon tracks. They're all over. We're right under the bridge here. Those are mud dauber nests. Mud daubers are like a wasp kind of thing. A very small tank has driven across the sand here, across the dunes. Now I'm just kidding. What these are is roly-poly or isopod, pill bug. have a lot of different names, but that's what these tracks come from. So they're insect tracks. We've seen these on other videos, but this is a cliff swallow nest.